In this video, I'm going to be talking about this plough plane. I'm going to be showing you how to set it up, what it's used for, so on and so forth, my thoughts and opinion on this. So, I originally got this from Workshop Heaven, and this is a Quishang. So, the Quishang isn't obviously the only one, and this is based off other patterns and whatever else. There is a Stanley, there is a Record, so on and so forth. There was a number of companies that did actually do these. So I think probably the most famous is probably going to be the Stanley or the Record, most likely. But this little fella, this is very well machined, and I'm absolutely over the moon with it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's a really, really good bit of kit. So it comes, the main body, that is, very, very simple setup. It is pretty comfortable to hold. The handle's nice. Now, something to note here, these are pretty small. So the total length, the body itself, where are we here? It is, I want to say 150 millimeters. So that's like 6 inches. It's really not very big. Now I've got small hands, so this is perfect for me. So to put one of these together, what I like to do, I like to put the blade in first. Then I like to get the clamping section. Just give it a little nip. And what I like to do is I like to apply pressure with this thumb while I use the nail on my other thumb, on my right hand thumb, and just push it forward. You know, obviously I can push. Obviously I'm not going to go too much here, just a little bit. Just give it a little cinch up for now. I like to put a beam in. So the thing about these, or at least mine anyway, it's really well machined and there's not excessive play in it, which is obviously good. So not too much play, and it's not too tight either. So before I put the fence on, this actually does come fitted with a wooden fence. I'm not sure what wood this is, I can't quite remember what wood this is, but it's a nice durable wood. It is beveled, so it's nice and comfortable, and it is pretty hard wearing, and it is a good addition. It's not too wide, it's not too long either. And there's the fence fitted. So the last thing would be the depth stop. And for anyone that's interested, you know, the cutting range of this is going to be, what, maybe kind of ½ an inch, something like that. Something I forgot to mention was what this actually comes with. So when I got mine from Workshop Heaven. This is also available on Amazon. Workshop Heaven is selling on Amazon, and I do have an affiliate link if you'd like to support the channel. It's not going to cost you guys anything, but I do get a little kickback, so it does help us to produce content, etc. These are slowly going up in price. These are about £180 at the moment. I didn't pay anywhere near £180. I can't quite remember what I paid for it, but I can tell you now it wasn't £180. So it kind of just goes to show, obviously supply and demand, and obviously there's a little bit of inflation going on there, but I think it is more to do with supply and demand. People are wanting them because of the good little plough planes. It's as simple as that. So what this come with, it come with a number of blades. I can't quite remember it. I'll put it up on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will be able to see what sort of blades it comes with. Something else it come with was a kerfing saw, if that's the right terminology for it. Someone correct us in the comments if I am wrong. So basically, and for the life of us, I do not know where mine is, but again, I will put a picture on the screen for those of you that are watching. Basically, it's a little saw. It comes a little bit past either side of the plane of the body. I want to say maybe 1.5 inches either side. And basically this just gets clamped into place. I still actually have the piece that clamps it into place. But for the life of us, I do not know where the saw is. And to be honest with you, I do not use it. So the idea with the kerfing saw is to pretty much use it as a kerfing saw to create a curve all the way around the board that you will use as kind of a guideline, I suppose you could put it that way, for resawing some stock. I don't like to do that. I think it gets clogged up very quickly and I just didn't like it. I personally, what I do is that I'll get my finest or my smallest rather blade that'll fit in here, and I use that, and I find that it'll make the groove a lot quicker, or the curve a lot quicker, you know, and it's only just slightly thicker, and I can deal with that. You know, I'm not gonna whinge about a couple of millimeters, and I just find it a quicker all around process. And obviously when you're using hand tools and you've got a lot of stuff to do, sometimes it is better for you to be able to get things done in a timely manner. To set one of these up can be a little bit fiddly at times, but for the most part it is pretty simple. So let's just say we were going to create a bit of a groove. I don't know, maybe we're making a door. So we should have it marked out where we want the groove to be, and what we would do, or what I'd do rather, is I'll get the blade where I want it, and I'll just push the fence in, and if I'm happy with where it is, which I am, I'll just give it a little nip, cinch. I'll bring it away and I'll give it its final tighten. So once I've got the fence set, I'm just going to give a few strokes, and I'm happy where the blade is. If you're not happy where the blade is, if it's taking too much off or it's not taking enough, same again, I would put my thumb, apply pressure with this thumb, undo the thumb screw and use my other thumb with the nail or just to simply pull it back. It's very, very easy once you get the knack of it, but you do have to get the knack of it. So as I said, the fence is set. I'm happy with the depth of the blade. The only other thing would be the depth stock. With the depth stop, it's real simple to set. You know, give it a little nip, get it where you want it. That'll do. So same again, once you've got it where you want it, just give it a cinch up. So using one of these, there is a few things you do have to take into consideration. First of all, when you are putting some type of groove in, or even a rebate, you may want to use a mortise gauge. And basically what this is going to help or do, this is going to help to prevent any tear out you might get. Sometimes you might have the grain and it might be running out, and that can obviously create a little bit of tear out, which you don't really want to do, especially if you're making something like a door. So these these edges will be visible on the inside and the outside, because you will at some point open the door, so you will see it, unless it's some type of a sliding door, of course. But the outside you will see it, so you do want these to be pretty clean. So as I said, if you use some sort of a gauge and you create the lines, that's going to help prevent that from happening. So another thing, when you are using the plane, make sure that you're applying side pressure to the piece of timber. So what these like to do when you're actually using them, it's very easy to actually come away, and I'm hoping you can see this on the camera. I'm exaggerating this a little bit now, but it is quite easy for you to come out the square. So rather than watching what's happening here, don't worry too much. Obviously you've got to keep an eye on what's going on here, but don't forget to be keeping an eye on the side. If you feel yourself wondering, correct yourself. So another thing is that make sure the workpiece is positioned properly. Something I like to do when I am actually overhanging with a piece of material, I like to stop the piece of material I'm actually creating a groove or a rebate in against a stop, and I like to use just a scrap of wood, and I like to butt against the edge and just clamp it into place on my workbench. So all this is for is that when I'm applying pressure going down, it's actually diagonal pressure, so I'm not just pressing down, I'm pressing kind of down and in when I'm planing. And obviously when this piece of timber is here with a diagonal force, it's going to stop it from moving in, which I want. So there's other ways to do this. You can use a tail vise if you've got one, and here's a couple of other methods that I'm not going to cover, because this is just nice and simple, and this is how I do it. So everything's set, we've marked out, we've actually used the mortise gauge to put some lines in. I haven't actually took it all the way back, which I probably should. Something I see people doing is that they'll start at this end of the piece of timber they're going to plane or create a groove in, and they'll start and they just continue, and they'll just see it like same again, and they'll just work the way through the whole section of wood this way. The thing with this is that when you're starting off, you should take a couple of passes, and this will get you your groove. It'll be better, you'll be able to see where it is, and it does help with registration with the plane and everything else. But after you've got, you know, a little bit of depth in this, what you're able to do, and what I don't see a lot of, is that, so as you can see, I'm able to pick up quite a lot of speed, and you just work your way down the workpiece. Something to note here, when you are doing stuff like this and you are picking speed up, you do actually have to make sure that you empty all the shavings, because the shavings can and will get clogged up in here, so you do have to be a little bit mindful about that. When you are getting close and maybe you're skipping pieces, when you're running your blade against it, you know, you're taking shavings and then the shavings are stopping, then start taking full passes. And obviously your depth stop will start making contact, obviously the blade will stop cutting, and that's how you know you got to the bottom. But as I said, when you're first starting off, yeah, take some full passes to kind of get you set where you're going, and then you should be able to pick up a little bit of speed. Something to note here, when you are picking up a little bit of speed, and I did mention this a little bit earlier in the video, is make sure you aren't wondering. Even though you've created a little bit of a shallow groove, you know, for everything to register against, it is still possible for you to actually come away. So same again, as I said earlier, just keep an eye on the fence section as well, that you're making contact. Something else to note here is that when you are creating a groove or a rebate, it's always good practice to leave a couple inches either side more than what you need. So what I tend to find is that when you're creating a groove, it tends to be more the side you start at, which is obviously this side, you know, where you pick the speed up. It can run away a little bit. So this only ever tends to be, you know, like kind of 10 millimeters, 20 millimeters, something like that. So, you know, for the sake of 10 or 20 millimeters extra on the length of, I don't know, maybe your styles or your rails if you're making a door, it's just worth leaving them on. And it is good practice. So another thing, sometimes, even though you've used your mortise gauge or some other gauge and you've taken a pass with it, you will get furry little bits. So what you can do, this is a very badly in shape, but this needs sorting out. It's got some rust on that. But this is a shoulder plane. This is a Lee Nielsen, and I actually don't use this a lot, but when I do use it, I'm very happy I've got it. So what you can do is just take the arris or take the corners off like that, just very fine, and it just neatens the groove up. Now don't go mad with this, because if you take too much off, it's going to be visible on the door or whatever you're creating, maybe it's panels. So you only need to take a very small amount off. As I said, if you take too much off, it's going to be visible, and what it's going to look like, it's going to look like you've got big gaps in your grooves, and obviously it's going to look a little bit unsightly. So, you know, pay caution to the wind with that one. So obviously this can create rebates, and it's exactly the same process, other than you're not going to be using a mortise gauge. You can still pull the line down, but obviously you would just use the single pin at the back, or maybe a wheel gauge, whatever you've got to hand, and you would just do exactly the same. Now, something about the rebates which is more predominant than when you do a groove is that you will have a tendency to go on a slant. So obviously I've talked about this as I've been showing you, but it's extensively more predominant when you're creating a rebate. And I think when you're creating a rebate, you do have to take a little bit more time. And something I would advise you to do if you are creating a rebate is that you actually pull a line, or you mark a line on the side as well, so you've got a reference, an eye reference. You can reference if you're running out a bit too much. If you are creating a rebate with one of these guys, you will be able to get down pretty quickly. So what you can do, and I have done this in the past, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, is that I'll use this to do like a lot of the donkey work. Basically, I'll get a lot of material out of the way very quickly, and then I will use my router plane, and obviously the router plane will register against the straight edge, and it will level the bottom of the rebate off, making everything nice and square. I would definitely recommend one of these, not a problem. I think they're great. You don't necessarily have to have this one. Get a record or get a Stanley. As I said at the start of this video, there is a few that are pretty similar in design. What do you guys use to create grooves and rebates, other than an electric router, of course? Write down in the comments and let me know. And also let me know if you have used a chisel to create a rebate or a groove. I've done it to create a rebate. I've never done it to create a groove, or a long groove, should I say. I'm going to call it there for today, guys. So thanks very much for watching, and until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.